Today, we're going to dive into JavaScript. You know, that language that's super powerful, but let's be honest, it can feel a little weird sometimes, right? Especially when you're just starting out. We're going to pull back the curtain on some of its most confusing behaviors and show you that behind all that mystery, there are actually really clear, consistent rules. So let's get started by tackling one of the most classic JavaScript head-scratchers of all time.
All right, let's kick things off with a real classic. If I ask you what 2 plus 2 is, you're going to say 4, obviously. But in JavaScript, not always. And believe it or not, this one little question opens up one of the most fundamental concepts you absolutely need to grasp to really master the language.
So, what's the secret? Well, it's all about something I like to call shape-shifting types. Now, the official term for this is automatic data conversion, or type coercion. It's basically what happens when JavaScript bumps into different types of data in the same operation and has to make a quick decision about what to do with them.
Okay, check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. When JavaScript sees two strings that look like numbers with a division sign between them, it's actually pretty smart. It figures, hey, you probably want to do math, so it converts them and gives you 2. Makes sense. But use the plus sign, you get 6, 3. What's going on? Why the totally different result?
Yeah, it's because the plus operator is, well, it's special. It's kind of living this double life. On the one hand, it does mathematical addition, just like we expect. But on the other hand, it's also used to join strings together, what we call concatenation. And the rule is super simple. If even just one of the things you're using it with is a string, JavaScript will always choose to join strings. Every time. So this whole behavior, it has a name. It's called type coercion. It's basically JavaScript trying to be helpful by automatically converting values so that an operation doesn't just fail. And most of the time, this works out great. But with that plus operator, it can lead to that 63 surprise we just saw.
And believe it or not, this isn't just random chaos. JavaScript follows a very clear set of rules when it needs to turn something into a number. Look, you don't have to memorize this whole table right now, but just kind of soak in the pattern. You see null becomes 0, true becomes 1, false becomes 0, even an empty string turns into 0. It's actually a pretty predictable system once you see it.
And you know what? The same kind of logic applies when JavaScript needs a simple true or false. There's this very short, specific list of things that are considered falsy, meaning they will always convert to false. You've got 0, an empty string, null, undefined, and nan. That's it. Everything else in the entire language, anything that's not on this short list, it converts to true.
Okay, so that's the whole deal with types. Now, let's switch gears and talk about another thing that trips up almost everyone at first, the humble equals sign. Because in JavaScript, it's definitely not what you remember from math class.
Okay, here's the absolute #1 thing you have to get. In JavaScript, the single equal sign is an action. It's a verb. It's not saying this thing is the same as that thing. No. It's an operator that takes whatever is on the right and actively assigns it to the variable on the left. It's doing a job.
And here's the really cool part. Because it's an action, it also gives back a result, the value that was just assigned. That's how you can do crazy-looking stuff like this. The key is to just read it from right to left. First, the value 5 gets assigned to C. Then, the result of that whole operation, which is 5, gets assigned to B. And finally, the result of that operation gets assigned to A. They all end up with the value 5.
All right, so now that we know these rules, we can get pretty clever with our code. But, and this is a big but, clever isn't always a good thing. In fact, it's usually not. I mean, look at this line of code. It's a real brain twister, isn't it? This is technically valid JavaScript. You're doing math and assigning a value to a variable right in the middle of it all. And because we know how the assignment operator works, we could probably sit down and figure it out. But the real question is, should we ever write code that looks like this?
So, should you write code like that? No way. Not a chance. And that brings us to maybe the most important lesson of this entire explainer. Clear code is always better than clever code. Always. Your main goal shouldn't be to show off. It should be to write code that you or someone else can easily understand 6 months from now without wanting to pull their hair out.
Okay,
So we've been talking a lot about the rules behind the scenes, how JavaScript works with types and values. But where do we even get those values in the first place? Well, a lot of the time, they come directly from our users. So let's look at a few simple tools the browser gives us to make that happen.
We're going to look at 3 super simple, classic functions: alert, prompt, and confirm. These guys are built right into every modern web browser, and they give you a direct line of communication between your script and the person using it. First up, we have alert. This one's about as simple as it gets. It just pops up a little window with whatever message you give it and an OK button. The really key thing to know about alert is that it's what we call modal. That means it literally pauses everything. Your whole script just stops dead in its tracks until the user clicks OK. All right, next up is prompt. This is your go-to for actually asking the user for some input. It pops up a dialog with your question and a text box for them to type into. This is super useful, but here's the catch, and you gotta remember this: it always gives you back a string. Even if the user types 123, you get the string 123, not the number. Or, if they hit cancel, you get null. And last but not least, we've got confirm. This is perfect for any time you need a simple yes or no answer from your user. It shows them a message with an OK and a cancel button, and what's great is that it gives you back a true Boolean, a real true or false value. Click OK, you get true. Click cancel, you get false. Simple as that. So let's kind of zoom out and bring this all back to where we started. That feeling of JavaScript being quirky or weird, it's not. What we call a quirk is really just a rule that we haven't learned yet. Once you know the rule, the quirk disappears. Think about it. From type coercion to how the equal sign actually works, these aren't quirks, they're the fundamental mechanics of the language. And understanding them, really understanding them, is what lets you write code that's not just clever, but clear and predictable. So the real question is, now that you know the rules, what are you going to build with them?